Last time we discussed the Beis Halevi, the very big Chiddush of the Beis Halevi, in the Beis Halevi al HaTorah, where he makes a phenomenal Chiddush, and he says that you have a heter to do ishtadlis. What do you mean I need a heter to do ishtadlis? It means I really shouldn't do ishtadlis. Really, you should not do ishtadlis. And I have a heter to do ishtadlis because it says, I have a pasuk that says, allows you to do ishtadlis. Why? Because a person can't come to the madrega. He says a person can't come to the madrega, the proper madrega, the pure madrega of betachin agamar, and he feels he's going to starve if he doesn't do ishtadlis. So we have to go to work, and that's the way to make a living. So he says two chidushim. First of all, that betachin is a chiyuv; it's an obligation, and really you should have pure betachin. But the Torah gave you the heter of hishtadlis. How much hishtadlis? That depends upon each person. How much he needs until he can be calm and he thinks he can make a living, and then after that he's not allowed to work. That's the bottom line of what we discussed last week in the Beis Halevi, and it left many issues. Many issues. The balance between betachin and ishtadlis is not clear. It's not well. First of all, it's not clear because it depends upon every person, but the whole thing is not clear. I mean, as I was asked last week, but I have to go to work. I have to learn the trade, and I have to become an expert in the field that I'm in, whether the field is management, or it's in advertising, or it's sales, or it's in technology, or whatever the field that I'm in. I have to become an expert, and I have to do everything that's necessary according to the rules. That everything has rules. The Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world with rules, with teva. All these things are teva. These are natural things. Economy is a natural facet of the creation. So therefore I have to use the laws of economics in order to get ahead. So if I see that I have to put in a 12-hour day in order to make a living, and that's what normal people, it seems to be, in order to make the amount of money I need, I have to put in 12 hours a day. So what are you telling me about this business of betachin? So I want to stop. We have to go back. I looked into the Beis Halevi is the handbook on betachin. Today everybody's quoting the Beis. It used to be the Chavos Halavavis. He's very difficult to learn. It's medieval logic. But the Beis Halevi, he lived 100 years ago, and he's got a little kuntres called Maimer HaBetachin that everybody is discussing. It's been printed with Perushim and everything. It's just a little tiny choveret. And he says this, what he says in the Beis Halevi on a Chumash in Parshas Miketz, he says in his Maimer on Betachin, Choivas HaBetachin, there's an obligation to have betachin. There's an obligation to have betachin. And he brings many psukim showing the obligation. Betachin is an obligation. And he says a tremendous, I mean, he punches you in the nose. He punches you in the nose right at the very beginning. Mi shemechaser boy, anybody who doesn't have betachin, avera gedoylehi. I've heard of many other averas gedoyles. Many things are terrible averos. Lack of betachin is an avera gedoyla. This is what he says. Va'averazu atzma gorim lo lipo. And then he makes a second statement. Not only is it an avera not to have betachin, but it's going to backfire and cause you to fall. If you don't have bitachon, so you get afraid. A person who's afraid, what he's afraid of will happen. He's giving, this is a big chiddush. I always thought it was the Mekubalim said this. I always thought it was Mekubalim. Then when during COVID, they brought down Rabbi Kiva Eger, who said it, that if you're worried about, that was a cholera epidemic. He says, if you're worried about it, if you have fear from cholera, that itself will make you susceptible to cholera. Same thing with the COVID. If you're afraid of the COVID, it makes you susceptible to that illness. The Beis Halevi said it about bitachon. If a person's afraid, whatever it is, and he doesn't have bitachon, he's afraid that he's not going to be able to make money. He's afraid of whatever it is. He's afraid of the situation. She becomes a mine. It's a mine. It's an explosive mine in the ground that he's going to trip over. It's a mikshol that he didn't have before then.
I used to go horse riding in England. My first lesson was my teacher said, if you're frightened of falling off the horse, you're going to fall off. She said, but you should know, if anybody tells you they've never fallen off a horse, they've never ridden or they're lying. I think that sums up the topic, no? More or less.
To a certain extent. Okay, but uboteach b'Hashem, he says, but boteach Hashem yusugav. He says, no, a person with real bitachon is lifted up and he won't fall off the horse. He's lifted up and he's not going to fall. And then he brings down many rayas from Psukim. And what we brought down last time, and he also talks about it. What is the ideal state? We have to realize. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's take it back. What's the ideal state that the human race should be in? Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, Kadosh Baruch Hu created us, and He was going to take care of us. The Malachim were our servants. And it says that the Malachim, the angels, they gave roast beef to Adam and Chava. They had a barbecue, whatever they wanted. It was they were being wined and dined in Gan Eden, and that's the way it really should have been. Except that Adam Rishon, he blew it. I won't go into that. That's a very, very difficult parsha. Exactly what did he do wrong? But he blew it and he was thrown out. And now we're in the Olam B'zei Asapecha Tochal Lechem. When did the obligation to do hishtadlus, to work, come? Don't forget this. We think it's natural. Everybody, you go to work. You're born, and your father went to work, and you're going to work, and your kids are going to go to work, and the whole world's working, and your neighbor's working, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry is working, and trying to make a living, and trying to make a buck. And that's the way the world works. It's just a fact of life. It's not a fact of life. It's the Mesilas Yesharim says, and the Beis Halevi, he's just quoting the Rishonim. It's B'zei Asapecha Tochal Lechem. It's kanas. It's a curse. It's a curse on the human race. There's a Gemara at the end of Kedushin. There's a Gemara in the end of Kedushin. Famous Gemara in the end of Kedushin. It says, you look at all the animals. All the animals have, all the animals in nature, they have their means of sustenance. You've never seen a lion taking a job as a porter. Maybe a donkey takes a job as a porter, but you've never seen a lion, not a bear, right? The chickens, they peck away, and everybody's got his parnasa. The whole bria has parnasa. The worms in the ground have parnasa, the fish in the sea have parnasa, the birds in the air have parnasa. Everybody's got parnasa. They have their means of livelihood, of finding food. All of a sudden, man, he's got to work for a living. So the Gemara, so the Mishnah says over there, is because I did the chet of Adam Rishon, therefore I have to pay the tax. That's what the Mesil Shishurim explains. It's a tax on humankind that we have to pay. Now, I don't think anybody has ever wanted to pay more taxes than he has to. So there's no mitzvah in increasing a tax. It's a klola, whatever you want to call it, a klola, kanas. It's a klola. You want to increase the klola? You want to pay as little as possible.
It's a mitzvah to pay taxes. No? Some people think it's a mitzvah to pay taxes. Support the government. Support the Bitachon Laumi, which gives the Arabs.
That's what an accountant is for, to try to get you out of the taxes, how to balance the books in such a way and report it in such a way that you're paying less taxes. So it's not a mitzvah to pay more taxes, right? So therefore, hishtadlis is a tax on humankind. It's not a mitzvah to increase. More than that, according to what I just said, the ideal situation is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of us. And the reason for hishtadlis is only a tax, kanas, a kolola on humankind, on mankind. Then the Beis Halevi says, according to that, your hishtadlis is not really doing anything. Is your hishtadlis really doing anything? Is your hishtadlis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have brought in your parnasa, you could get a check every month from the United States government or from the Israeli government or whatever government you're associated with, get your pension check, go to the bank, cash it, and you've got your income for the month.
If it's a klala, or whatever it is, then that's what Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to pay that.
Yes.
So you ask us to do it.
Yes. But how much? He didn't say how much. He didn't say how much.
It's a knas, it's an external payment, it's an external tax you have to pay. It has nothing to do with your income.
Oh, so they say, so the Beis Halevi says a fantastic Kiddush.
Go to the tax office and fill in the form.
But also, that doesn't bring you the money. It's like
right, okay.
the money
Yeah.
is there.
It's a condition. It's not.
It's a condition, right? It's a condition. It's something you have to do, but that doesn't bring in the. So the Beis Halevi says, I heard this from a Victor Miller also.
It's not dollar per hour.
Right? The hishtadlis doesn't help.
But it's
I was asked last week, don't you have to work, normally? Do you have to study and you have to work in whatever your field is, whether your field is management or it's sales, you have to follow the rules. We have to follow nature. There's a Ramban. The Ramban says the Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world with nature. Why doesn't the Kodesh Baruch Hu do, we're now approaching Shmois with all the miracles. Kodesh Baruch Hu did fantastic miracles above and beyond nature, only one time in history at Yetzias Mitzrayim. During the Eser Makis and during Kriyas Yamsuf and at Har Sinai when he came down and he revealed himself to Am Yisrael and he gave the Torah and then he gave the Man during the 40 years. He did miracles above and beyond nature once in history, and that's it. Except once in a while there were a few miracles that, but nothing compared to the whole nation. To the whole nation to do such miracles. Normally, Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't want it. The Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't want it. He wants us to live in a normal world, a world of nature. That's the Ramban. That's the Ramban. He says the Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world. He despises when he has to break nature. That's why a lot of the Gedolim, the history, Amoroyim, Tanoim, they didn't want to rely on it's us to rely on a miracle. It's prohibited to rely on a miracle. You're bothering a Kodesh Baruch Hu to change nature. He doesn't want. Do things in a normal way, and then rely on Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to make it work out somehow.
So you're saying that you're doing things in a normal way, yet the actual effect is supernatural. Like it's
Exactly.
what you're doing has nothing to do with what you're getting out.
I will quote the Beis Halevi. Hishtadlis einu mo'ila. The hishtadlis does not work.
Help.
It doesn't work. No.
Effective, not effective.
It's not effective.
So as soon as you know this, why would you?
Because I have a kanas, I have to work. I always said, when it comes to this, it's a very hard concept. It's hard for me to wrap around it. In order for me to have,
If you go to the bank, doesn't create the money. The money's there. You have to go to the bank to take out the money.
a person has to have motivation to work. Only a person's motivated will he work good. He's motivated, he enjoys his job. Person enjoys his job, he enjoys the excitement of what he's doing. Everybody has a different thing that he gets excited about. And therefore, if a person's, he enjoys being a salesman, or he enjoys being a technician, or whatever he's doing, or he's a writer, he enjoys being a writer. He gets an excitement out of it. This is what, it becomes like his hobby. If your work is your hobby, you're excited about it, so then you could be successful in your work. If your work is dreary, right? If your work is dreary and it's boring and it's just a chore, you're not going to be successful in it. That's a fact of life. So a person has to be schizophrenic. This is the chiddush of Yiddishkeit. You have to be schizophrenic.
Quite good at that.
You have to act as if. You have to put yourself totally into it. Act as if. Knowing all the time that you are not doing anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing everything. Because there's a danger. If you act and start believing, like 99% of us, that what I did is creating the effect, it can create the opposite. It can create the opposite. This is the chiddush of the Beis Halevi. In the Beis Halevi al Torah, he says, Misha marba b'hishtadlus. A person works. He's got a job. Now he knows how much he's got to pay his mortgage. He's got to pay the electric bill. He's got to pay the food bill. His family is growing. He's got to buy clothing. He's got a car. He's got 2 cars. You got to pay for the insurance. You got to pay for.
I said, okay, that's enough. We got
That's until you have to marry off the kids. Then I got to pay them a chutin. Then it gets expensive. Getting a
candlesticks.
yeah. That's just the gifts. What about the dira? They want a dira. So I'm not making enough money for this. I'm not making enough money for this. 90% of our community are not making enough money for all these things, especially once it comes to marrying off the kids. They're not making enough money, paying seminaries, paying schools. I'm not making enough money. I can barely, I can maybe cover the month for everything, but to pay the tuition above and beyond, and tuition is going up and up and up. So what do? They work. Give them a check and hope it doesn't bounce. Right.
No, you hope they lose it.
That's the bitachon. Emes Yaakov. Chesed Avraham, Emes Yaakov. Chesed Avraham is when you write the check.
So then they start.
Emes Yaakov is when you sign it.
So then, what do? Normal person works 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day. Then he starts working 10 hours a day, and then he's in the office until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then he has no time for his family, no time for himself, no time to learn, no time for anything. He is now a slave to his work. Misha marba behishtadlis, yoisemi kafi hanitzrach. If he is marba in his hishtadlis more than is necessary according to his level of betochen. According to betochen, if you would have betochen, we'll talk about it in a second. If you would have betochen, you wouldn't have to work so hard. And if you ignore that and you overwork, ein shoy, Kosh Baruch Hu sends an einish, min hashamayim, they'll yosifu al itzdarchuso. They'll increase how much you have to do. It's not going to work unless you're working 14 hours a day. I can't make the money unless I work 14 hours a day. Who caused that?
You set the tone.
Excuse me?
They say you set the tone.
That's right. You set the tone. Min hashamayim yosif al hitztarchusay lehishtadl v'lo yuzman lo panasasa. Only out through Yegias basar haderech Yegias haderech shabbat. Whatever you chose. You chose to work hard. Okay, you're going to have to work hard. It's not going to come unless you work hard.
But it's up to me to decide what I need. You know.
You have needs. One second. Needs is very, very needs. I don't really want to get sidetracked into needs, but we all have needs. We have to. Yeah, we are a Western society. We're not living in the Depression. We don't eat just bread and water. We want to have a proper breakfast, a proper lunch, a proper supper, a nice Shabbos. These are within norms. I'm not saying you have to have roast beef every Shabbos. You don't have to have steak every night. I haven't had steak in years. I mean, Oh, who has steak? Yeah, who has steak?
Next week.
Next week.
Next week.
Next time we get steak, right?
Yeah. Right. But you don't have to take vacations. I know people that take vacations. Once a month they take vacations. I'm working so hard I can't handle it. Off to Florida. Right? It's exaggerated. And then they complain why they don't have enough money. It's exaggerated. You need a lot of siyata d'shmaya that a Kosh Baruch is going to pay for that. So I have a klal. You have to. So the Chafetz Chaim has a klal. I'll tell you the Chafetz Chaim's klal. Just a digression. The Chafetz Chaim in Mishnah Berurah has a klal. He says, you want to know what's necessary? You want to know what's necessary? Imagine you took on to, Yisachar and Zvulun, you're going to support now a Yisachar. You're a Zvulun, you're going to support a Yisachar. Somebody called. So you went through what he needs, and therefore you give him a monthly check, which lets him live comfortably, and he can concentrate on his learning. You're supporting him. He comes to you and asks you, he wants either one-time outlay, or he wants a raise, or whatever it is, and he discusses his new needs. Would you agree to it? If you wouldn't agree to it to him, don't agree to it for yourself. That's how you know. That's the way the Chafetz Chaim words it. If you wouldn't pay this guy, what do you need? Well, you don't need it. You're living fine. You were fine until now. You need more? So Kosh Baruch says, listen to your words. Listen to your words. What do you do?
Yeah. Where's your car?
Yeah. So always live within your means. I had a young man, I had a Talmud, and he couldn't. Some people have problem balancing the budget. They don't have a head for budgets, and he was whatever came up, he just spent. He developed chayvis galore. And it was getting out of hand, and people, debtors, the creditors, they were banging on his door, and he had trouble. He found a young man another young man in the kollel took him under his wing, brought him to a budget maker. They have people who specialize in making budgets. Sat him down. How much do you really need? How much do you have income? Where can you cut down? And finally, after training himself how to budget, he was able to live within his means. It's possible. It's possible. But your person has to realize, if a Kodesh Baruch Hu didn't give it to you, the problem we had was with credit cards, right? In the old days, in Europe, if you didn't have the money, you didn't buy heat, you didn't buy wood for the fireplace. You didn't buy wood for the fireplace. You didn't have a credit card.
As a child, right? You don't have to go to Europe with the wood. If you didn't put money in the electric meter, the lights didn't come on.
Right. That would be much healthier. Living on credit and constantly, the gamach syndrome. It's terrible.
Banks just everything goes up in price.
Yeah. Anyway, but It used to be much simpler, but living on credit. Oh, just I know somebody. His wife just swiped the credit card, and he couldn't stop her. It was Shalosh Shalom bias, but she kept on swiping the credit card.
Your mother-in-law?
Huh?
My mother-in-law?
The guy, police calls the police calls the guy. We found your credit card. Someone stole the credit card. We found it. No, just keep it there.
He's spending less money than my wife.
So a person, and this is what the Beis Halevi says.
We have a problem in our society is that we've created some of the wants into needs. And
Okay, we won't go into advertising. Advertising is they advertise and they drill into your head, I need it.
You've got to buy a flat, an apartment for every husband that gets married.
I don't want to go into it. We're stuck, right? We're stuck in a situation.
And one person said to me once, he said, well, what do you want to do? If I don't do it, then my daughter's going to stay at home.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm not going to get into what do you do. This is what we got to do. If a person would really have betochen, then believe it or not, the things that he needs, they would come. He would be able to get them. It says in the Gemara that your parnasa, your salary, is set for the year on Rosh Hashanah. Your salary is set for the year on Rosh Hashanah. It's there. You have to do whatever minimal betochen that's possible. Don't overwork. Don't become a workaholic. Do whatever is normal to do. And then the money is going to come. The money is there. It's been set from Rosh Hashanah. Even really, if you didn't do Ishtadas, it would be there anyway, but that's the kanas that we have to go through. There was a fellow. He went to his Rav, and he was talking about his situation to his Rav, and wanted to take on a second job. Why do you want to take on a second job? Because the job that I'm working in doesn't make enough money. I'm not bringing in enough money. I'm bringing in a certain amount of money, and I'm short every year. I'm short, and he was very organized, and he made a budget. He knew how much he needed. And he was short $25,000. It's just not in the books. There's no way I can do it. I have to take a second job. So he said, if I take a second job, I moonlight for a couple of hours at night. I think he was a doctor. So he said he'll work in the emergency room for 3 hours a night, and he'll make $25,000 extra. And so this Rav says, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy? What are you doing?" But I have no other way to do it. What, you don't think a Kodesh Baruch Hu? You don't think a Kodesh Baruch Hu can give you the money without your overly working? You know, what do we say every day? We daven Ato Gibor Li'olam Hashem, right? Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed. 3 times a day we say Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed. Who is Mechalkel Chaim? HaKodesh Baruch Hu. 3 times a day. So you're lying. You don't believe it. Every day you're saying Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, you don't believe it. He's not Mechalkel, I'm Mechalkel. If you really believe that Kodesh Baruch Hu is Mechalkel, then you work a normal 8-hour day, and that's it. And the money's going to come. So the Rav said, listen to me and do it, and we'll get back to me after the year. So this doctor agreed. He didn't know how he was going to get, but the rabbi, I don't know, they believe rabbis. I'm a rabbi, I'm not sure you should do that, but...
What did he agree to do? No, the guy, just to carry on.
Well, just carry on.
Don't do
Have betochen. Learn betochen. No, you have to study betochen. You have to study betochen. You can't be, some people, I have betochen. That's just laziness. That's shirking your responsibilities. But this is a very responsible person. And this Rav gave a shir on betochen. Says, study the shir, listen over to the tapes, every day, be mechazik in your betochen, and let's see what happens at the end of the year. So he came back at the end of the year, says, "No, what happened? I got the 25 grand. How'd that happen?" He says they befriended a elderly Russian lady in the neighborhood. An elderly Russian lady in there, but they befriended her. At the end of the year, she couldn't take care of herself, so she had to move into a nursing home. So they were the ones who were taking care of her and during the whole year. So they were cleaning up the apartment to help her move. So she said, "Look for the silver foil bowls." In my days, they called it silver foil. It's aluminum foil, right? But when I was growing up, it was called silver foil. Silver foil? You also called it silver foil. Yeah, that's what it was called. So she said, "Look for the balls of silver foil." What's a silver foil balls? And she said, "Keep them. Look for the silver foil balls and keep them." So they figured, she's an old lady. They have this, thing in their head that they can't throw anything away, so they save the aluminum foil. Maybe Pesach time I'll need it, or whatever it is. Sometime, so they're constantly saving things, So they started cleaning up the apartment. They opened drawers here and there and in bottles, and they found balls of silver foil, and they opened it up expecting to find more foil, and they were filled with cash. They're filled with cash. Oh, once they saw that, then they started bedikas chametz. Right? And they found everywhere there were hidden these balls of silver foil. And after they cleaned out the apartment, they gathered up all the dough, all the cash, and it amounted to $25,000. He went to the Rav and said, "Thank you."
20 stories.
Now, if she would have invested in the video 20 years ago, then,
So
But again, the problem is the question will be, so the guy's working 8 hours a day, some kind of salary, basic salary. So he shouldn't ask for a raise.
you're allowed to act within normal things. You're allowed to ask for a raise.
What?
You're allowed to ask for a raise.
I'm alone.
Yeah, you have to act. You have to put on an act. That's the schizophrenia. You have to put on an act.
So you're trying to make more money.
But a person. But you have to
So
know.
which means you're saying
You have to act.
in the hours you're working, you should try to make as much money you can within the hours you're working.
No, it's not what I'm saying. Yes and no. Of course.
Why
I'm
not?
saying more than that. Of course. Why not? But you have to know that you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. There's a very big chiddush in Rav Dessler.
No, but why
You
ask,
like Rav
but
Dessler.
why ask? But again, why ask for raise the salary? I'm doing shtadlis.
That's my
I'm
shtadlis.
working 8 hours a day. That's it.
No, my shtadlis is to ask for a raise in salary. That's also a shtadlis.
So I have a new shtadlis every second to try to make more money.
you have to get to
Within limits of, again,
So you got to make the
Hishtat-
maximum. You got to make the maximum to make as much money you can within the circumstance of whatever hours you work a day. Whatever.
I have to act as if Hishtadlis works, as if I am making the money. Believing all the time I did nothing. Again, it's schizophrenic. It's
Someone's
counterintuitive.
trying to make more money, which means in some point it's a lack of ishtadlus, because why are you trying to make more money? If Hashem wants you to make money, you're going to make money.
No, if I need it. I'm talking about everybody's got. We're talking about people. They always are short each month.
No, we're not talking about rich people. Everyone needs money.
Every-
Always need money.
Not necessarily. There are people who have. There are people who have plenty of money. I mean,
We're not talking about average most 90%.
no, you have plenty of money, don't you?
90%
Please Hashem, more.
No, about 90% of the people don't.
Yes, 90%.
They have to make more
That's
shtaddles.
the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, that most people don't have enough money. Yes.
Always have to make more shtaddles, so they don't have enough. Most people.
Therefore,
don't have
HaKadosh Baruch
enough
Hu, so what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want you to do?
to make more money.
He wants you to realize that who's going to make you the money?
Fine.
What happens?
No problem.
Someone works 8 hours a day, doesn't make enough money. What should he do? Mitchazek b'bitachon or take another job?
Mechazik b'betochen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't do it?
Of course.
Again, if he had really had betochen,
Let's say someone's a
Who says 8
someone
hours
has
is
a
enough?
low-paying job.
Who says 8
So
hours
we
is
can't
enough?
say that I'm covering my expenses.
That's where
So
You
somebody,
gotta find a job.
again, if he's living normally,
no, I'm saying that somebody, it's not, someone to support a family needs 60, 70, 80, 90 dollars. And he only can get a job for $20. So maybe that's not a correct status, no?
I
You-
want to keep another project.
if he really has betochen, again, if he does, the problem is we don't have betochen, we don't really believe it's going to happen. Betochen is a nice thing. I understand the rabbi, betochen is a nice thing, but lamais, it doesn't work. That's what you're telling me. That means you don't believe.
No, what he's saying is,
No,
That means you don't believe. If you really believed it would work.
according to
How could-
natural way, B'derech HaTeva, he's supposed to take a job which B'derech HaTeva can bring him enough money to live. If
He
he's
can't.
working a job which
So
B'derech
the
HaTeva
Beis
doesn't make enough
Halevi,
money, he should change
the
the
Beis
job.
Halevi says you do what you can according to your means. That's what's available, and there's no other job available, and he is not capable for anything more. He did. That's his hishtadlis.
His wife comes up to him and she says, "I can't live like this, right? I need better." His wife comes in and says, "Like, I need to live life 10 times better than we're living."
Okay, I love these questions. My wife asks me these questions all the
I said
time.
this last year. I got someone came to me one time.
Yeah.
Came to me. He was in the kollel 5 years. He didn't make enough money. Chazak in bitochen. 5 years. He came to me for 700,000 shekel chovot.
oh boy.
Told me, listen, I had no choice. I had to go to work.
The individual scenarios are very, very difficult to talk about on a general basis. The question is, what is really called betochen? A lot of people think they have betochen. All right, I'll be mechazik in betochen. You have to really learn it very, very hard until you really believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do it.
He doesn't go out to work because he's a kohen, but he works 3 hours a day running around the mountain,
You lost track.
taking loans.
That's another one.
Also, why would there be a correlation between education and the amount of money which you earn? It's not always the case, but there is a correlation between education and the amount of money you
But it's
earn.
not always the
It's
case.
not.
That's right, because again, there's a teva. There's a teva. Kadosh Baruch Hu has created a teva, and in the teva you have to get a certain It happens to be that there is a big problem with that scenario. That's if a person goes to an educational, a professional college.
Brainwashing.
Huh?
Brainwashing.
No,
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 I think you said
no,
the wrong
no.
word, I think is.
Not brainwashing. I'm
That's
sorry.
what college is now. Exactly.
Oh,
Making a joke, he's saying brainwashing,
oh.
yeah.
I'm not talking about a regular college. I'm talking about a technical college. He goes, he specializes, he takes courses in the field that he wants to go to. I know how many people, my daughters, they force them to go to in seminary, right? After high school, they have to go continue in seminary a little bit, right? And they take courses in whatever it was. Hardly any of them. Sometimes I have a daughter's an accountant. Yes, she went into accountancy. I have another daughter. She learned graphics, computer graphics, and now she's a hairdresser. I mean, you have people who went to college and they specialize in one field, and they wound up in a totally different field. So it's not necessarily true.
No.
I'm not talking about that today. It's all the college education is a bunch of hooey. I'm talking about a technical education. A technical education. You go to a technical college, decide what field you want to go to, learn it. It's a 2-year. You don't have to, get the general studies degree. That's all a bunch of hooey, especially today, and it's a ripoff. But yes, it's true. It's true. In order to be a good lawyer, you have to learn law. In order to be a good engineer, you have to learn engineering. In order to be a good doctor, you got to learn proper medicine. I wouldn't want, some guy who went to a Hicktown medical school to, work on me, yeah.
Combine a degree anyway.
I have to
Combine
spend-
a degree, you don't have to go at all.
I have
Huh?
to spend 10
Combine
years.
a degree, you don't have to go at all.
That's right. That's a big problem.
I have to spend 10 years
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
to do something
Yeah,
that I'm not going to do at all. I have to learn 10 years.
To learn something that you're not going to do at all. I'm not. So you just answered your question. So we see that you have to get an education, and the education is commensurate with the salary. It's not necessarily true. They learn 10 years and then they wind up somewhere else. So it had nothing. One thing had nothing had anything to do with the other.
It wasn't always like that.
Rabbi, you said over
If
a
you had a
Scheinberg.
degree, you couldn't get a job above £10,000.
Excuse me?
You got a degree, you get another £10,000.
Rabbi, you said a story about Scheinberg forced you to get a dryer about 30, 40 years ago.
Didn't force me. He said,
said
whatever you
that,
need.
he said-
If it's really necessary, yes.
And he defined this, you were talking about a year ago.
Your wife is plotzing and the clothes not drying properly, especially in the winter. It's raining outside. Where are you going to dry the clothes? In those days, people didn't have dryers. It was like a luxury. Today, everybody has a dryer.
I haven't got a dryer.
My mother grew
I don't
up
have a dryer.
very good.
Sinclair was
If you want to
asking,
go around now and collect for a dryer, I'll be happy to take it.
Sinclair was asking, why did you pick 8 hours? Why? Rabbi's answer.
That's what people do. That's what's
Okay, so it's the same thing our
accepted
Scheinberg
in the
was
world.
saying. It's accepted that people have dryers, so now you can have a dryer.
To live normal.
So work normal is 8, is the Rabbi saying?
Now, that it depends. If a person,
Everyone normal something. Yes, what's work?
Everybody-
What's
Point finger.
what's normal is a person's in a job. A person's in a job. This is what this is. You saw Bragg do. It's of course. A person's in a job. If he's independent or he's on a salary, that's a different thing. If he's on a salary and he's got his hours, he's got to put in his hours. If he's independent, atzmai, so then he chooses his own hours. So Reb Bragg said, listen, some people don't have hours. That's a big problem.
I have a wife who's a nurse. She runs a hospital, basically, and she's on call basically 24 hours a day.
I can't get involved in every detail, but I'm not talking about women. They have a different thing. I'm talking about if she's able to manage. Maybe she could be on call but today with phones you can do everything over the phone and you can be free to do other things. But let's say a person's he's got to put in a certain amount of hours. Do you really have to put in all those hours? You have an obligation. There's a sif in Shulchan Aruch, which I haven't talked about, and now I'm running out of time, so I don't have much time to talk about it. Yikba eis lilmoid. We have to take off time to make sure you have a time to learn. Yikba eis lilmoid. You have to set aside time to learn every day. This is an obligation. It's the Sif in Shulchan Aruch. And what's the Issa b'Gemara? And this is the Gemara talks about this. Machnisan adam ledin. When they machnis a person into din, they ask him, "Were you kaveya itim l'Torah?" They're going to ask the question. I didn't have. What are you going to answer?
Rav Parker of Shir.
What, every day, not once every 2 weeks.
It doesn't. The Rabbi didn't say every day. It said kovet. It's just.
No.
It said b'chol yom.
Sorach she'osi kavua every day.
Okay, whatever it is. If it's
Every day. It's a kavias every day.
You've got to make that.
It's the best thing is in the morning before you get involved in the work, right after davening. Bikoveya itim is before you get involved. Then once you get involved in work, you can't get your head out of it. Before you get involved in work, bikoveya itim l'Torah, right? Maybe if you get involved in work, then when it comes time, I can't get away right now. I'm busy, so your time for your shir goes out the window. It's best thing is in the beginning of the morning. And he says that this time that you have set aside for learning should be kavua, yolo yavireno afilu imsovi laharviach harbe. He's got a good business deal. He's got a good business deal coming. And he said, no, not now. I got my chavrusa, I got my shir. Ish kazeh, that's called the Bali Amona. He's maimin a bateach b'Hashem. Kosh Baruch is not going to be. A guy went to Rav the Miller. He had a time. He wanted to stop his shir in the morning because he needed more money. So he went to Rav the Miller, and Rav the Miller told him, "You really think that's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to do? To stop your shir in the morning is going to give you more money? Pomfarke is going to give you less money. Kodesh Baruch Hu can't give you money." Can't figure out a way to get you money, and you should be sitting and learning. That's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to do. That's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to do. Now, what should you be learning? I'm running out of time. What should you be learning? I know the big thing today is Daf Yomi. It's a wonderful thing. People do that, and it's very good because it's mischayev. It's you feel a chiyuv and you're part of a chabura, and it's a very wonderful thing. However, the Mishnah says, really, what should you be doing? You should be learning halacha. If you don't have time, in the old days, listen to this. What do? He's talking about today. They're talking about what? Taking off an hour to learn. An hour to learn. In the old days, when the Baal Batim learned only 3 or 4 hours a day. Huh?
Video 4 hours, yeah.
3 or 4 hours. The Balabatim. A Talmid Chacham learned 16 hours a day, but a Halevi, the B'nai Torah, learn. You know, if you have to be very. We have a big problem with hasmada, right? But the phones, yes, the phones. And when a person's in a shir, turn the phone off. When I go to shir, I see what's going on. In the middle of the shir, there gets a beep. The phone's off. But he gets the buzz, and he's got to look at the WhatsApp. The best thing is the box in the middle of the table. Everybody puts their phone there. Make sure that the ringer's off, otherwise it's going to go off on in the middle of the shir. Right. That's the best thing. Turn the phone off. Don't look at your email. Don't look at your WhatsApp. Right? And he says, if kashalomid rak ma'at, nochon she'ika limudil yir b'halachos. You should learn how to act lamaisa, halacha lamaisa. Kol hashoyna halachos b'kol yom, muvtach hu ben olam haba. These Maimori Chazal are MS. We say it every day in Eretz Yisrael. Right? The Chassidim in Kusar say it every day. Right? Kol hashoyna halachos b'kol yom, muvtach shu ben olam haba. You want to be a ben olam haba? Learn every day halachas. And don't make he says, lo yasa malachto iker ela arai. What does it mean? Kedei parnasasai. Ubezeh tzorech lizor mipitor yetzer. The yetzer hara is mafata every day that you have to be mishtadel more. Yisboinim ba'atzmo, what is the hechrech hamiti? Think about what is really necessary. Well, if it's necessary, then you need that. And if that's what you have to do, then it's necessary. But what is the real hechrech hamiti? You can't live without it. If you learn how to budget your time, learn how to live frugally. Remember Mrs. Caston? Frugal.
Kamsan?
Not kamsan. Not kamsanut. It's frugal means living simply. Living simply.
Well, what's the word? Frugal?
Frugal. Right? Remember Mrs. Caston? So she lived very, very, very simple. She said people forgot how to be poor. When she was growing up, people were poor and they were happy. They were poor. They knew how to be poor. We forgot how to be poor. Rav Zadel, My Rebbe, Reb Zadel Epstein. He was poor. He lived with his mother. I think he was an orphan, and just his mother supported the family. They had nothing in the house. Like, if I don't have my cream cheese in the morning, like, the bagels and lox, and people, what are you talking about? If the bread is 1 day old, the kids won't eat it. If the bread is 1 day old, the kids won't eat it. They used to keep the bread hanging from the rafters so that the cats wouldn't get to it or the rats wouldn't get to it, and they had to put it in water in order to make it soft. It was dried out bread, and he ate it. They ate the bread.
So you have to be frugal. You have to have both. You don't have enough money.
If you don't have enough money, learn how to budget. Learn how to live within your means, and then if you learn how to live within your means, then Be'ez Hashem, and you have betochen, and believe every day. Eitzah Tova, I've said this many times. Eitzah Tova, I've already given a shir on this. 2 skulos, which are Barak and Manusa, saying Birchas Hamazon from a siddur, a beer cone, right? It's brought down in the Sefer Achinuch. The Sefer Achinuch brings it down, saying Birchas Hamazon from a siddur, and
Why only a Kohen?
No, everyone.
Anybody? No. Beer cone. Oh, not a Kohen. Beer cone.
Maybe it's because you're a Cohen, that's why we're thinking how we are.
Beer cone or a siddur, right? And Parshas Haman. At the end of the siddur, at the end of Shacharis, you have Parshas Haman. To say it takes, if you get used to it, it'll take you 4 minutes. I think you could spare 4 minutes.
It works, by the way.
It works.
Yeah.
Baruch Manusa, it works. But Chafetz Chaim says, but you have to think about it. Not just daven it up and not think about it. Right? You learn it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he fed them 40 years. He fed them mun in the midbar. Why can't he can do the same thing for me? V'hamarba lo yarba. Right? If you work harder, you're not going to get more. And if you don't work enough, you're not going to get less. And Be'ez Hashem, we should all have b'tachan and all have a parnasa tova. And have a good gebench of vach.